Joining me now on this broadcast, Ambassador Yash Sinha, former High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. Again, somebody who watches India-Europe relationship very closely. And Air Marshal Anil Khosla, former Vice Chief of Air Staff. Because remember, aviation, avionics, and that entire the aviation technology is an area where India and France are moving forward very, very closely. Ambassador Sinha, you wanted to come in on the India-France special strategic partnership, your reading of 2026 being year of innovation, cooperation in artificial intelligence for healthcare, and the conversations between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the French President Emmanuel Macron, sir.
Gaurav, thank you. I think my colleague Javed has already elaborated in great detail about the significance of this visit, and particularly in defense cooperation. But I find this visit very significant because sometimes, we concentrate far too much on the Anglosphere, and, the relationship with a country like France, which is vibrant, strong, and of long standing, goes under the radar. It's among the earliest strategic partnerships. I think it was 1998, was signed with France. And France, as Ambassador Ashraf mentioned, has stood by us during difficult times. I recall after our nuclear test in 98, when the West was basically imposing sanctions, France stood by us in many, and even during conflicts with Pakistan, etc. So I think it's a very significant visit. Very significant at this particular point of time when the world is in a flux, if to put it mildly, and we are confronted with very stark choices. And France is always a safe harbor, always a country that we can rely on, not only in terms of defense cooperation, but for political support and backing also. So I think this visit by President Macron, though for the AI summit, the bilateral segment in Mumbai that concluded today was extremely important in my point of view. And the cooperation in upskilling and in AI and in other areas are all sort of part of this very vibrant relationship between these two countries.
Very significant point, sir. Let me also bring in Air Marshal Khosla, former Vice Chief of Air Staff. And with the falling number of fighter jet squadrons, we are now down to maybe 30, 31 squadrons, some argue 29. The Rafale deal still in the works. Your reading, by when will we have the initial aircraft, and then by when do you see that Make in India take effect with the F-3s and then the upgraded version of F-4s, sir?
Yeah, Gaurav, although this is the first step which has been taken, it will take a long time because a lot of effort needs to be put into finally when the deal is signed and the results start showing. Technical evaluation. Firstly, the RFP has to be issued, and based on the response, then the thing needs to be finalized. The technical evaluation has to be done. Thereafter, the price negotiation, which takes quite a long time, and finally the CCS approval. And after that, the whole gambit starts. Maybe the first 18 aircraft which are supposed to be, bought in a flyaway condition will come faster. And while they are being made in France and being delivered, in parallel, I think the work will go on for technology transfer and setting up the production and assembly lines in India, depending on the contract. So it will take some time, being optimistic. Maybe one year is very, very optimistic figure. Maybe 2 to 3 years, the production, the addition, addition of the aircraft into the Indian Air Force may start at a gradual pace, and then the pace may pick up later.
Be that, given that situation, what would that mean for India's falling fighter jet squadrons? We are down to 30, 31, some argue maybe 29 operational. And if it takes another 3 to 4 to 5 years, by the time the aircraft start coming in, would this indicate that we would need a stopgap arrangement? And what would that stopgap arrangement then mean for India's AMCA project, for our fifth generation? Or is there no alternative to this now, Air Marshal Khosla?
Yeah, so Gaurav, you rightly said, the figures varying 29 to 30. I think, in my opinion, personal opinion, we have hit the lowest figure now. And from here, it is a upward addition. Uh, the deal will definitely put brakes onto the drawdown. And I don't think we'll go down further. Now, as far as upscaling is concerned, that means the upward trajectory is concerned, it will not depend only on these 114 aircraft. It will be also dependent on how our indigenous production meets up our requirement, the pace at which we need induction of the indigenous aircraft, which I'm referring to. We already have 93 plus and 87 Mark 1 A's on order. Then the Mark 2 comes in, then the AMCA comes in. It's very essential that these aircraft are produced in time so that this drawdown is stopped, and further it starts increasing in numbers to the requirement as far the Indian Air Force is concerned.
Okay, and given the situation, Ambassador Sinha, you've dealt with our partners in the United Kingdom. You've seen how we've had a situation with the United States on the G404 engines right from the time when we did the Pokhran nuclear tests, and that's the time our Sea King and Sea Harrier fleet, was grounded post Pokhran. And we still went in for the G404 engines while they may have been the best given that situation. Do you foresee a stalling and adversely impacting India's LCA program, or do you see smooth sailing or touching the sky with glory in times to come on that, sir?
No, as the Air Marshal explained, and there's been a lot of delay in terms of replenishing our squadrons and our Air Force with the fighter aircraft. And I think we need to really do something about it. I think the government is serious, it's doing something. And I think as far as the US is concerned, there have been delays. We are aware of those delays. I'm glad that at least as far as Safran is concerned, things are working, will hopefully work as per schedule. But I think we really need to pay attention to our defense requirements. And I think this year's budget has, of course, allocated funds for purchases, but I think we need to make those purchases because our defense acquisition process has been rather in the past, at least I recall, it has been extremely convoluted and it takes a lot of time. So if we can cut the red tape, because this is a dire requirement, and I think we are hopeful that this issue will be resolved sooner than later. And our neighborhood is only getting more complex, and certainly we need to be prepared for any eventualities.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure the government is working in that direction, and I think you need trustworthy partners because if you can't trust a partner, especially for supply of defense equipment, then I think the whole point of having this the strategic partnership is sort of comes up for debate. So I think as far as France is concerned, I think by and large they have been meeting their commitments, and I do hope President Macron's visit will further ensure that our already robust partnership will go from strength to strength, as the Prime Minister described in his press conference earlier today, from the depths of the ocean to the highest mountain, to Mount Everest, etc. So I do hope that with the very close links that bind India and France are further strengthened by this visit, and not just in defense, as I said, but in other areas too. I think over 20 agreements and MOUs have been concluded today. And I think these are extremely significant, particularly signed during the times that we live in today, right now.
From artificial intelligence to upskilling in aviation to ecology to small nuclear reactors, modular nuclear reactors. Ambassador Javed Ashraf, you wanted to come in last 30 seconds that I have on this part of the show.
Yeah, I
The
wanted
floor
to
is yours,
say
sir.
that, this relationship is way beyond just defense. And one example of this is our convergence on both the public character and purpose, as well as open source nature of artificial intelligence. This is the building block of power, competitiveness, and leadership in the 21st century. And it is very important for India, France, India, and Europe to work together to prevent the emergence of a global duopoly in power. between China and the United States, and to work for a world that is more inclusive and equal and not lead to increased concentration of power in the hands of either two countries or a few companies. And I think this is a very important development, as is also, by the way, as a startling figure is that over the past several years, the stock of FDI investment from France into India is the highest in Indo-Pacific, and it stands at 373%. So it's a very complete relationship. And sometimes the what we are doing in the defense space often overshadows some of the other strengths and of the relationship. So I think these MOUs that you're seeing today are a reflection of the kind of wide-ranging nature of the relationship. As I said, we are both wedded to the idea of a multipolar world anchored in rule of law and multilateralism and based on a sense of strategic autonomy. And this is the guiding principle for us going forward.
Oh, absolutely. And this is something that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the French President Emmanuel Macron also emphasized on. Rules-based order. You cannot have either America or China dictate to the rest of the world and expect them to kowtow to a duopoly, as Ambassador Javed Ashraf said. I want to thank all my guests.